Yes, that is correct. Welcome to my newly renamed viewer comment series called Music and Mocktails. Let's see what this is all about. That's right, I have decided to rename the viewer comment series and put an entirely different new theme spin on it. I am also into creating my own homemade mocktails. This is a wild blueberry mojito that I have created, and I thought I would share with you guys here. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it is delicious. Good job, Robert. By the way, this particular episode is dedicated specifically to questions and comments on Guitar Center and their used gear policies. I did a video on how Guitar Center buys their used gear a long time ago. It's gone on to become one of my most popular videos, despite the background music being turned up too loud in it. And I've gotten a whole lot of comments by a whole lot of people on it. And I thought that it would warrant its own viewer comments video. So here we go. Will GC give more in-store credit than they would in cash? Yes and no. On the surface, the answer to your question is no, because whether you're selling it outright or you're trading it in towards something else, if you're trading in a guitar, for example, whatever it is that you're selling, selling or trading, the value of that particular item does not change whether you're selling it outright or you're trading it towards something. So, that said, several years back, Guitar Center started their trade-in, trade-up program, and if you are using your trade-in piece to go towards a new guitar, for example, then oftentimes they will offer you a 10% discount, and oftentimes 15. They'll run 15% promotions, weekend promotions pretty often. But usually you can get at least a 10% discount towards the new item, which can help balance out the trade value a little bit more. I can't find any decent words for Guitar Center. The Rochester, New York store is abysmal. Underknowledge, staff, rudeness, arrogance permeate. My name is not Dude. This is not the Great Lebowski. Every time I've tried to deal with them, they have devalued my trade-in, no matter what it's worth or what it was. They seem to be very cavalier of the position here in Rochester, going up against the House of Guitars, which is an internationally known store that Hendrix, Black Sabbath, and many others have hung out there over the years. There are various other mom-and-pop shops that blow them away with service knowledge and fair prices. My anger towards Guitar Center is deep. I really wish more people would recognize this and insist on change from management on down if they're just survive like they okay, that's enough of the word salad. I get it. Okay, let me address a few things. I'm not going to pretend like there's not a lot of inexperience at the stores. There is, and some stores are better than others. I'll even go so far as to tell me you're not the first person that's complained to me about the Rochester store. I don't know anybody there. I've never even been to that store, so I'll have to take your word for it there. Regarding your trade-in value, however, I would be really curious to hear more details about that, because you conveniently didn't tell us what you were trying to trade in or what they offered you. And here's what I have discovered. When people are complaining about what Guitar Center has offered for their trade-in pieces, more than half the time, if you ask enough questions, you'll figure out that there's a few pertinent details that are really conveniently being left out. I'm not saying that's the situation here. I'm not saying this is the case with this particular individual. I don't know. But I did ask, for more details. I did reply to your comment when you left it, and I did ask for more details regarding the trade-in. You didn't respond. So, who knows what the situation is. But I will say, if you're walking into Guitar Center with a trade-in, something to trade in or sell or whatever, and you're expecting full market value, that's on you, not them. That's because they deserve everything they get. There's no guitars in their store, especially in Spokane. They got rid of all the Gibson acoustic guitars. First of all, there is spelled Their. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but here as August of 2021, as this video is being recorded, but for about the last year and a half or so, there's been a global pandemic going on that has wreaked all kinds of havoc across all facets of the economy, particularly here in the U.S. The Spokane store doesn't have any Gibson acoustics. Find me somebody that does. And here's why. Because during the pandemic, there was a whole lot of people that had nothing to do as they were sitting around at home on lockdown. And the ones with, especially the ones with a lot of money, were buying acoustic guitars, particularly Gibsons. Meanwhile, Gibson was shut down, and already had plenty, had back orders for dealers to fill, et cetera, et cetera. Their current production backlog right now, I think, is about 12 to 18 months. Now, I will tell you that right now, Gibson is not my favorite company right now. But I am going to defend them on this one. Because just like everybody else, if they're not behind on the production, then all of their products are sitting on a container ship somewhere probably out in the port of LA. And if you're not familiar with that situation, the port of LA has container ships lined up out into the ocean for miles right now because they can't get them into the port and get all these containers through Port Authority fast enough. This inventory situation, I'm sorry to tell you, but this inventory situation is going to get worse before it gets better. That's just the reality we're living in. It is tough for everybody. Is there good quality control with their used guitars? It depends on. It really depends on the store, and that's the simplest answer. The best advice I can give you, especially with a used guitar, used bass, used anything, is really the best advice that I can give you is to call the store. For every single piece of used gear the Guitar Center has listed on their website, they also have listed there off to the side what store is located and the phone number for that store. Call the store, get somebody to get their eyes on it, and if you really need to, if you really want to see see the details, don't be afraid to ask them for some photos. They'll take some pictures and email them to you. I did that I don't know how many times. Sold a lot of guitars that way. And things like guitars and basses in particular, that there could be some concerns of some structural damage. That's important. As far as just pulling the trigger off of, something that you see on the website, you can do it. But, again, it's used, and that can mean a number of different things. There's no way, usually from, you cannot tell from one photo, usually what kind of mileage something has on it. Best advice I can give you is call the store. Talk to somebody directly. How much would a Denon DP45F turntable be worth at the Guitar Center if I sold it to them, or how much store credit / trade-in is it worth? I'm not exactly an aficionado when it comes to turntables, or DJ gear of any kind for that matter. I know a little bit about it, a little bit just from being around it, but I'm not, as far as street values for that kind of stuff, I couldn't tell you. Turntables in particular seem to go obsolete, and the values of those things take a nosedive really, really quick as soon as the next latest and greatest comes out. As far as your particular turntables, again, I'm not familiar with those models, but honestly what I would do is call your local store that you're wanting to trade them in or sell them to and see what they say. And here is why. A lot of stores are sometimes really hesitant about buying in turntables. When I was there, they had a list of gear that we were not allowed to buy that was called the Skull and Crossbones list. And, there was quite a few turntables that were listed on there. In fact, I think at one time all turntables were listed on there. Or maybe it was single drive or belt drive. I don't, I can't tell you exactly what it was. It was a long time ago now. But turntables, they were really, really reluctant to buy in a lot of times. And again, just because, they do wear out and, they do go obsolete very, very quickly, and they're not worth much, which means Guitar Center can, is actually going to be able to give you even less for them. So, Does Guitar Center take or buy my Glary GST electric guitar, from which I bought from eBay? LL, I want to know, please. They'll probably. I'm sure they'll take it in from you. Again, keep in mind you're talking about a guitar that costs $60 or $70 brand new. They're probably not going to give you much more than about $20 for it, because they're probably going to resell it for $40. If that $20 is that important to you, by all means, take it down there and sell it to them. My Glary guitar, I donated. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to ship it out right now to a young child in need that really, really wants to learn to play guitar but doesn't have means to buy his own instrument. So I have another friend of mine is going to upgrade some parts on it for him and get it all set up for him. And we're gonna turn this garbage Glary guitar that I did a review on a while back into a really nice gift for a really, really good kid. It's funny, some people think Guitar Center / pawn shops want to pay full used price for their bullshit. I've always sold my stuff on eBay if I expected to sell it to someone that would pay what it's worth to someone keeping it. I reckon I'm just smarter than some. I'll be honest with you, I'm probably I would put you in the top 50, certainly in the top 50 percentile, based on the number of people out there that I see that are absolutely, that just can't wrap their brain around the fact that you're not going to get full market value for your used gear when you sell it to Guitar Center, because they are a reseller. Hence going to make a profit. If something is worth $100 on the used market, Guitar Center's not going to give you $100 for it. They have to make money. They have overhead. They're a business, and they're a for-profit business. You can reasonably expect about $50 or $60 for your $100 guitar. Why that is a difficult concept, I don't know. I agree. If you want full market value, then put it up on Craigslist or eBay or something like that. And you do all the legwork to sell it. If you want fast cash and you don't want to mess with it, take it to Guitar Center and take the hit. That's the world we live in. That's how this worked.
Hey y'all, watch this.
So this is my segment called Hey Y'all, Watch This. And this is a segment on my channel about watches, because not only do I happen to love guitar gear, but I also happen to love watches. And this one here is my new subscription watch from this company called Chronologia that I am not familiar with. And here on the inside, we have ourselves a dive watch from Chronologia. Pretty nice dive watch, actually. Although this one's probably going to turn into a beater watch, just because I am not real big on quartz watches, which is what this one is. Unfortunately, this one's not an automatic, but it does have a rubber silicone band, which could also be handy for me for playing golf and doing other outdoor activities, something a little bit more durable. And also, for some strange reason, I don't know, it came with a headlamp. What am I gonna do with a headlamp? Talk about competition. My nearest Guitar Center is directly next to a Sam Ash. That's actually not uncommon. Sam Ash and Guitar Center, Sam Ash doesn't have quite as many stores as Guitar Center does. Guitar Center is up around 300, and Sam Ash, I think last I knew, was about 120. But those 120 stores are generally in very, very close proximity to a Guitar Center. Matter of fact, I think over in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Guitar Center literally backs up to a Sam Ash. They share a back lot, and I'm quite sure that employees from both of those stores are quite familiar with each other and their practices. At my old Guitar Center here in Indianapolis is right around the corner from the Indianapolis Sam Ash. Since I left that store, there's even been a music go-round that has opened up pretty much directly across the street from my old Guitar Center. It's not uncommon for other stores to open up in very, very close proximity to Guitar Center, because Guitar Center attracts customers. In that instance, let's face it, competition is good for everybody. Bought a used Jackson Flying V at a Guitar Center in Massachusetts for $270, and a year later, in the same condition I bought it in. I tried to sell it back because I never used it. and they offered me $25 for it. 25 effing dollars. They're cheap when it comes to them spending money, but pricey when it comes to them selling items. SMH. Forgive me if I assume that a few details are being left out of that story. If you paid $269 for it, I'm willing to bet it was probably a $300 guitar that you got a 10% discount on when you bought it. Something seems amiss that they would only offer you $25 for it back a year later. They don't just lowball people like that. There's a reason for it, and and somebody's leaving it out somewhere. In the business my whole life, I own a music store. If that's how they buy used gear, wonder why they're going out of business. They're not going out of business. I promise you, Guitar Center is not going anywhere. Short answer for those of us who aren't you is GC researches the price that they could sell it for and gives you 60% of that number. I've done it twice. That's a good rule of thumb, and I've talked about that in the past. Realistically, there's no blanket percentage that you can just put on anything, because there's plenty of times that I paid over 60% for, like somebody selling a really rare vintage piece or something like that 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 if I wanted it bad enough, or we wanted it as a store, if we wanted it bad enough, we thought we could sell it, we'd go up we'd go up as much as we could, and we'd take a hit on our profit margin just to get it. On the flip side, if you're selling something really, really inexpensive, my old store, we used to buy back in guitar stands and all kinds of stuff that we'd resell for $10-$20. And we wouldn't pay you much for them, but you might get a couple, $3, $4, $5 out of it. Really, really inexpensive stuff. You have to make higher profit margin on it. That's just the way it works. So there's not a blanket universal percentage that Guitar Center will give you for your used gear as it relates to what it's worth on the used market. How fast after they buy someone's gear does it go for sale in the store? Depends on the store. And what I mean by that is every store has a local ordinance that they have to follow, and that local ordinance oftentimes will include a police hold. If you don't know what a police hold is, it's some people call it a pawn shop law, whatever, which I suppose is accurate. But for any piece of used gear that a Guitar Center buys in, the local ordinance says, will say in a lot of cases anyway, that they have to keep that item in their store for a specific period of time so that they can run it back against, make sure that there are no police reports out on that particular item. Now, police holds vary from, honestly, they could vary from one zip code to the next. In my old store, our police hold was 7 days. So the only exception was if the person selling it to us if they had bought it from us or another Guitar Center store previously. Beyond that, police hold was 7 days, no ifs, ands, or buts. So a guitar would get, or a used item would get merchandised and put out on the floor right away. But if it was still in that 7 day time frame, we had to put it on layaway for the customer. Then they'd come back once it cleared the police hold, and then they could take it home. And again, police holds vary from, I know there can be as, just 2 or 3 days. They can be 7 days. They can be, I know there's a store out there, Arizona, that's 20 days. I think the highest I've heard is 60 days. And there may be even more than that. So, you can, so the answer to your question, you can put your name on it. You can put your stake in it as soon as you see it. As far as when you can walk out the door with it, that depends on, again, local ordinance laws of the store. Would GC buy an accordion off of me? Again, probably, that's probably going to be left up to the GM of the store that you're selling it to, case by case basis. I bought them in before. I bought a few accordions. They're probably not going to give you much for it. Those are really, really hard to resell. Accordions, I know they're not a band and orchestra instrument, but they kind of fall in that same category in that, for the most part, like accordion players, they buy one accordion and that's their instrument for life. There's just not much of a market for them. And, those musicians prefer to buy them new. So, the used market on those types of instruments, same thing with band and orchestra, woodwind and brass wind. So, your violins, your flutes, all that kind of stuff. The used market is really soft on all that kind of stuff. So, will they buy it? Again, Have to check with your local store. I would venture to guess probably, but make sure your expectations are realistic. Robert, curious, I went to my local GC to offer to sell my Ensoniq ASR10 in mint condition with every option and upgrade the keyboard offered and a complete library of sounds and then some. Now I don't know if the two kids that worked there just didn't know what they were really looking at, lack of common sense, bad in sales, or my local GC's policy on what they will or won't buy. I know my ASR10 is an older keyboard, however, even so, it's still an iconic, still sought after keyboard. After I see other GCs picking them up and selling them almost as quick as they get them, they don't sit too long on GC site. I don't know, I left confused and still am kinda that they passed on it so quickly without a real answer as to why. Thanks. Peace and rock and roll. Honestly, that one could be any or all of the above. It could very well be that they just had a couple of young people behind the counter that just very well didn't know what it was that they were looking at. Let's face it, you've got to know what that Ensoniq ASR10 is to know that it has any value. Somebody that's not into that kind of stuff, I could see how that one could get by. Could get by some more inexperienced associates. That said, Ensoniq is one of those brands also that kind of can, Guitar Center tends to have to buy them in. They've got to be able to buy them in pretty fairly so that they can sell them for a pretty fair price, just to get them out. Because if they price them too high, and I mean even just a little bit too high, they have a tendency to sit. And and Guitar Center does not like for used gear to sit. They buy in used gear to sell it, not sit on it. So. I'm not sure what the situation there would have been. I wasn't there, but if I had to guess, I would say it was probably one of those two, maybe even a combination of the two. So there we go. The first episode of Music and Mocktails is now in the book. Quit sticking to the glass, you stupid coaster. If you got comments or questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments section below, and we'll see if we can get to it here in a future episode. Come back and join us for more music talk and mocktails. Thank you so much for watching. I got to go get this stupid headband off.